What's up everyone, my name is Adrian and today we're going to be installing these Bully steps on my 2004 Ford F-150. So these are the steps. They're made by the Bully brand. They're cast aluminum side steps. They're rated at 300 pounds. They come with a texture coat on them and they're pretty lightweight. They come in a pair, pretty small steps, just big enough for your foot to get on there and jump in the truck. Comes with some hardware and the instructions, and some of that hardware is not necessary for your truck. So you look through the manual and it'll show you the different way to mount the steps. You'll check how it works on your truck. So my truck is a 2004 Ford F-150. It is a body conversion, so it looks different to you guys. That's just because the conversion is done. But most of the Ford cabs are gonna be similar. So you're gonna look down here, right here, and up on the inside right here, and that's how you'll know how you are gonna mount your steps. So here are the directions that it comes with. So if you open this up, you'll see what I'm talking about. Right here to give you 4 figures, it'll show you different groups, so A, B, C, and then D and E. So for the F-150, you have a channel, so it's group D and E, wall with a channel. So you're gonna go and skip ahead to that. So to show you what tools you need, it says a Phillips screwdriver, power drill, center punch, open and wrench, ratchet, small round file, and black marker. All right, so figure D is what we're gonna be working with. So we have sheet metal screws up at the top, and then from the bottom, we have 1 1/8 inch bolt set. So on the bottom, we're gonna put nut and bolt, and up here, we're gonna put a sheet metal screw, and it'll mount in that little channel and then hang outside. So you can see right underneath your door, that's where like factory running boards would bolt to right there. So that's how I have my other ones bolted on my other truck. But these ones, since they're universal, you're just gonna bring it up here and hook it in that wedge right there. So you can see that it's not even bolted down, but obviously I can't pull it back down. So you can see this kind of like a little gutter right here. So they go in there and they hook on that lip right there. So right now I'm pulling down and I cannot pull them down. Obviously it's not bolted yet, but I just want to give you an idea of where they're gonna go. And there's a little bit of room to slide it around to adjust it. Obviously that's gonna be personal preference. They do recommend putting it so that the middle of these is lined up with the front of the seat bracket, but it's not always gonna work out that way, because you can see I have this little gutter right here that makes it impossible to go further back. And then it also pushes out in the front, so it's impossible there. So I only have like 2 inches of leeway to go left and right. And there's also the holes where you're supposed to mount like the OEM style running boards for this truck. So it looks like right about here somewhere. I'm gonna get out and look and see where that is, and then I'll mark the holes, and then we'll go from there. So right now I'm on the passenger side. So let's grab a paint marker, let's get under there and make sure we find the position that we like, and then let's get these suckers on. If you guys are new to my channel, my name is Adrian, and I have 2 2004 Ford F-150s. One is like a Prerunner, the other one is kind of just like a daily driver family truck. You guys can subscribe to my channel if you want to see more about both these trucks, and I have a couple of part installs, a couple vlogs, a bunch of different stuff. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. If you want to buy these steps, the link is down below in the description. I do get a small commission if you use that link, so I appreciate it. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below in the comments. So the first step we're gonna do is we're gonna mark a center hole, because you can't fit your drill to drill from the top. So you're gonna have to drill from the bottom, and since you can't tell where the hole is gonna be, you're gonna have to measure it out. So we're gonna get these things in a spot where we want them. So I'm actually gonna have it right here, press it all the way back against this little channel right here. So I'm gonna mark the center, and then I'm gonna measure 6 1/4 inches to the left, 6 1/4 inches to the right, and mark the center as well right here on this pinch weld. And then after that, I'm just gonna verify the measurement from outside to outside, and from there, that's where we're gonna drill our holes. So you're only gonna need the main bag of hardware. You're not gonna need any of the spacers or anything like that. You're gonna need a punch, some drill bits. So I have a 3/8 inch drill bit and an 1/8 inch drill bit to drill like a pilot hole, and the punch to mark it. Obviously, it's up to you if you want to use a punch and mark it, or a pilot hole. You can just drill straight through. That's what you want to do. Tape measure, either a Sharpie or some kind of paint marker so you can mark your measurements, and then just ratchets and wrench. And I'm gonna use my little impact gun just to make it a little bit easier for me. And that's gonna go in there, and then a Phillips screwdriver, or also just your drill with a Phillips head so you can put the sheet metal screws in at the top. And it helps to have a cool little magnetic flashlight that you can put up there. So I got a magnetic light hanging on my frame, and I can angle that thing right up into that little channel. This light's pretty cool. I got this off Amazon. I'll put a link in the description also. I think it was like 25 bucks. You can use the legs as a stand. You can adjust the lights to face the same direction, opposite direction, and it has magnets built in there. So that's pretty cool. There you go. Just angle that light up there to give me some extra light. And I'm gonna get these measured out, and then we'll keep moving. Are you allowed to do that here? Okay, so in the instructions, it tells you that the best way to do it is to put the middle of the step lined up with the front seat bracket. But on this truck, I can only go so far forward till it hits a little bump, and so far back till it hits that channel. So I'm actually just gonna position it all the way back to that channel. That way I can match it up to the other side easier. So right there looks good to me. There's my step. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mark the center of the step right here on this pinch weld. So you can use a Sharpie or something. I'm using this little paint marker. Okay, so that's my center marker. then now you're gonna use your tape measure, measure 6 1/4 inch to each side and mark that. So after you have that, we're actually gonna drill our 3/8 inch holes on the 2 outside markings. So this is where you can use your punch and also the 1/8 inch pilot drill bit if you wanna be extra safe. So I'm gonna try that out. I'm just gonna punch a hole right in the middle, punch a hole right in the middle, 1/8 inch drill bit, 1/8 inch drill bit, 3/8 inch, 3/8 inch, and now you got your holes, and then we're gonna mock everything up. So you obviously wanna make sure every make and model is gonna be a little bit different, and just make sure you have no fuel lines over here, no electrical wires. So you can see this gutter is completely empty on this side, so we're good to go. We can just drill straight through. So I'm gonna do that right now. Okay, so go ahead and put on some safety glasses, get your 1/8 inch drill bit, and then drill on your center punch holes. Once your pilot holes are drilled, you wanna grab your 3/8 inch drill bit, put that sucker in the drill, and then now open those up to 3/8 inch. Battery died on that drill, so we're gonna use a quarter drill. All right, so once your holes are drilled, you might have to open it up a little bit, so that's what they recommend using a file for, or you can use your drill bit if you want to just move it around just a little bit to clear the holes up. So now we're gonna go ahead and lay the steps in there and then use some of the hardware to hang it in there. So you don't want to put anything on there too tight yet because you still gotta do the holes up top. So I'm gonna take this hardware right here, washer and a nut, and I'm gonna go ahead and hang it on there through the holes that I just made. Okay, so here's a quick check-in, update, and a little remix for this video. News alert, those instructions had incorrect measurements. Now I feel dumb because there was an easy way for me to double check that before I started drilling holes, but I just didn't because I'm too focused on filming the video. Anyways, in the instructions where it said to measure out 6 1/4 inch to each side, and it even said to double check and make sure it's 12.5 inches from outside to outside, which makes absolutely no sense because the step is not even that wide. The step itself is a 10 1/4 inch wide. So that hole to that hole is about 8 1/4 inches, so it should be like 4 1/8 inch on each side to those measurements. So that should have been accurate. And the easy thing I should have done is after I marked them with the paint marker is just set the step up there, and I would have saw that the markings were way wide. And I just messed up. I did not even double check. I should have double checked, so I just wasted time drilling those 2 holes for absolutely no reason. And now I'm doing it again, but with my own measurements. So just beware. A lot of times these brands, maybe they changed the dimensions in the past and didn't update the instructions. Maybe it's some kind of universal instruction kit for a different step and they just don't update it. But always double check before you start drilling holes. And I should have took my own advice and done that as well, but here we are doing this whole step all over again. But learn from my mistake, just be wary. I put a little warning at the beginning of the video just so that you guys, you know, this part was coming, so you can not try to follow this as a tutorial. So anyways, I did the same exact thing as I did earlier. I put the step up there, found the spot I wanted to be in. I marked my markings with the new measurements. Now I'm gonna do a center punch, 1/8 inch pilot drill bit, and then 3/8 inch hole, and then I will start to bolt it up. So we'll catch back up to that same step, so give me a second. All right, so the holes in the new location is working, so I have one side mocked up. Okay, so once your holes are drilled, you're just gonna hang this thing back in the channel like I showed you earlier, and then line up your holes. That way you can push the bolts up and through with a washer, and on the top side you put the nut on, and then you just hand tighten it for now, because now we're gonna put the sheet metal screws up in those 2 top holes, and then after that's all lined up, then you're gonna go ahead and finish tightening this up. And then I'm actually gonna go ahead and use some red thread locker on them as well, since this should be on there pretty permanently just to help hold it all together. So I'm gonna get underneath and then put in those sheet metal screws. Another thing to be aware of, besides the measurements being all jacked up, is that these holes, you cannot put it completely center on this little rocker. So it's actually a good thing because these first holes I did dead center, and it did not line up very well at all. So you actually have to kind of go out towards the lip just a little bit, probably like an 1/8 inch, maybe even a 1/4 inch towards the lip, and then from there this will line up perfectly. So you see I got both of them lined up. First try, technically second try, but first try with the correct measurements. That's on there, just hand tighten for now. Okay, so here's a little view from the back side. So again, sitting flush in the channel, there is the bolts that came through from the bottom up, finger tight for now. And there's the holes up here at the top in each one of these, and you're going to use the supplied sheet metal screws, and we're gonna go ahead and put those things in there all the way tight. And then after that, I will add some thread locker to these nuts and then tighten it all up, and this side will be completely done. Okay, so a little update. These, obviously everything down here was fine, but these freaking self-tapping, no, they're not self-tapping. But these freaking sheet metal screws sucked. I couldn't barely get any drills to fit in between here to the frame and the cab right here to put this in. And I drilled the pilot hole 1/8 inch. These things were just like smushing the threads. They were not going in. On this side, I ended up just drilling it out for an extra 1/4 inch bolt that I had laying around because I was able to reach through this little hole right here and get the nut on the back side. So I figured I might as well upgrade. But on this side, I couldn't reach this far to get a nut up there. So I decided to keep on trying with the sheet metal screw. And I had to drill out the hole bigger and bigger and bigger. And it pretty much you have to like use a screwdriver and hand tighten it or else you're gonna strip it out. Like mine is probably a freaking 1/8 of a thread from just stripping back out. I think I'm just gonna pull it back out and add thread locker to the screw as well. Obviously I'm gonna pull these off, add thread locker, and then I'm gonna tighten everything down, and then this side will be done. All right, so the passenger side is done. So the bully step is on there. And again, obviously there was a lot of mishaps with these things. It was supposed to be a really quick and easy universal part. And what I thought would maybe take like an hour is taking a couple of hours. It's okay though, I still think it's gonna be worth it. Just nice, small, low profile. You know, like I hardly even notice it's there if you're not looking for it. Step. Obviously, these bottom ones, the issue was the measurements being off in the manual. That's 50-50. Obviously, it's 100% their fault for doing that. 50% my fault for just not realizing and double checking. But we got the new holes in and the hardware going up and all bolted in there with Loctite. Up top, I used that slot to use a bolt, so I drilled out the hole and used a 1/4 inch bolt instead just to add a little more security. On this side, I did end up using the sheet metal screw, but I think that those screws absolutely suck. So my advice is if you get this kit, just be prepared to have a hard time with the sheet metal screws. Unless you have like maybe a more high power drill, or maybe go get some different screws and use some better ones, because these ones, the threads were literally smushing as I was giving it pressure. Even with the pilot hole, it was not grabbing, and I tried a couple different drills and little like mini electric impacts to get that thing in there, and they would not go. So I ended up drilling the hole out just about the size of the screw on this side, but it's so close to stripping out. I just don't recommend it. So if you can figure out a way to get hardware in there instead, then I would do that, use a nut and bolt. But this thing isn't solid, so with that being said, I guess adding that extra on that side is perfectly fine. So as you can see, if I open the door, there's my step and there's all my weight on there, and it's barely moving. So I think that, you know, ultimately we'll be fine. So here's how it's looking. There's the step right there. So like I said, it's kind of tucked in there. From the front, the tire completely covers it because of how wide the suspension is, but they're just nice and small. They'll get the job done. I'm gonna do the other side and then I'll show you guys how it looks all complete and give you the rest of my thoughts. All right, so something that I thought was gonna be a difficult rating of like 2 out of 10 ended up being more like a 7 out of 10. Not because of lack of tools or knowledge, but just a little bit of frustration. Obviously the instructions were incorrect. This is probably the 5th time I'm complaining about that, but the instructions were incorrect. Kind of my fault too for not double checking. Double checked, got it on there right, got everything good. I'm super happy with the outcome, so let's just jump to that. So the outcome is, I got a step for my passengers to get into my truck, so then I always jumping and leaping. I got a step for myself to get in and out of my truck a little bit easier. Obviously they're not running boards, they're not humongous, it's just a small little corner step, but it is gonna help make it a little bit less of a hop and a skip. Put your foot in there, use your handle, you jump right in. Same thing to jump out. So that thing is pretty freaking sturdy. On this side, I did not even attempt the sheet metal screws. Yeah, those sheet metal screws sucked. They would not go in. I'd recommend getting your own screws if you're gonna try to use those. Obviously, like I said, I used a nut and bolt on one side because I was able to get into that little tunnel. If this side starts to come loose, I'll do the same thing, but I don't think it's gonna come loose. When you step on it, you're pressing down and you're actually pushing that against that section. So I don't see why it would actually come loose or fall out unless you hit it from the other side, which you don't plan on doing. So as far as quality goes, I give it a 7 out of 10 as well, maybe an 8. As far as functionality goes, I give it a 9 out of 10. I'm super happy with them. Obviously I haven't used them in the real world yet, but I'm happy with stepping on them. They seem sturdy, they're small, and the price was on point because I didn't even really want steps for this truck. And I was a little bit worried about how they were gonna look on this truck. Since it's like a Prerunner and it's got a different style to it, I didn't think that the steps were gonna look good, but I like that it's so small, you almost don't notice that they're there unless you're looking for it. The tires cover it from the front, super small, they're black, and the frame is black, so it kind of just blends in down there, but it serves its purpose. So with that being said, if you guys have any questions, let me know down below in the comments. If you guys wanna buy yourself a set of these steps, they're universal for a couple different makes and models. I'll put the link down below in the description, and keep checking back for more videos with my Prerunner and my other truck. Peace.